Hello, hello. How are you? Are we live, Jean? Yes?
We're live. We're live. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very happy because I am back here in the same room where everything started. I'm in Buenos Aires for a few days after my trip to Colorado, in the room where Kleros was born. And someday, as I always say, there's going to be like a museum in this very same place. And today is 18th of March, and guess what, Jean? I have not come to this place since the Connect conference in November, and I entered into this room, and let me show you what I found here that was in the room waiting for me because I didn't take it with me to my home. You recognize this?
The MVP trophy.
This is the actual Champions Trophy. And the very special, famous, MVP is here. This is the one. This is quite big, I have to say. Yeah. 1 second. Well, let me put this in the center. Okay.
Okay.
Is it okay? You have the screenshot?
Yes.
This is a. You can say whatever you want about me. You can say whatever about Kleros. We were the first champions of the Uniswap Cup, and I was the first MVP of the Uniswap Cup, and nobody can ever take this from me. That is something that, it's forever. This is an NFT that is going to... It's a soul-bound token because it's not transferable, you cannot transfer, winning the Uniswap Cup, right? So, I was, coming into this place, and... and I saw this. I had forgotten I had this in my room, so I'm very happy. This was a really cool stuff to have a big smile after entering the room. So yeah. So how is everything on your side, Sin?
Well, I'm good. Super excited about the latest things on AI and agents and everything. Actually, using a lot of AI to create content for Kleros. So. That's what I've been focusing on the latest days.
We have tons of things for today. So let me first tell you a bit about my trip to Colorado. As you might have noticed, I was not here in the last community call. I was invited to a workshop organized by Nathan Schneider, the University of Colorado in Boulder, about dispute resolution and different mechanisms and systems for dispute resolution. Some of them blockchain-based, like Kleros, others more like AI, others neither blockchain nor AI, like more traditional technologies. And Nathan is a very early days follower of Kleros. He was the writer of very famous article about called Cryptoeconomics as a Limitation on Governance, where I think this is more or less from 2020, where he objected to all of these mechanism designs that were being developed in the blockchain space in order to make the governance of DAOs, and based on pure economic incentives like staking of tokens, shelling points. So he was critical of that, and one of the examples he used in that famous paper was Kleros, in the sense that was the time when we only had the courts based on token-based voting. This was before soul-bound tokens, before proof of humanity, before all of that. So he published that paper, and then he got an answer by Vitalik, and Vitalik explained that it was a good approach. Yeah, that there's additional paper. Cryptoeconomics. What's the date, Jean? It says the date there. I think it was 2021, maybe, or 2020, something like that. And then we had William also.
Yes, it was 2021, August 2021.
Yeah, and then we had an answer by William, and so this was a really cool discussion involving Nathan, Vitalik, and William, lots of the input that he gave us in that paper. Eventually all this went into the development of Kleros 2.0. because Kleros 2.0, as you know, there is still the financialized aspect of the incentives and the sharing points and the token, but there are other elements that are like a more like looking like more traditional distributed solution systems. For example, the idea of you can only be drawn in court if you have the right skills to be drawn in that court, and you need to have to prove that you are a unique human. Sometimes, maybe if we want to have humans, and then you have a soulbound token that represents some skill or some belonging to a community. There's also a plan of making what we call a jury misbehavior court that can address situations like conflict of interest. The traditional Kleros model addressed this type of problems through appeals, and then if you had a conflict of interest and you tried to manipulate the court, there would be an appeal, and then you would lose money because of the appeal system, etc. I'm not going to explain everything here, but that's how it works. And the fact that we started to implement these more sophisticated mechanisms also meant that we started working with more different partners. Not only with pure DAOs or cryptoeconomic protocols that already kind of understood, knew how these systems work because they come from the same environment, the same industry, but also we can work with governments and companies and different entities that require this sort of mechanisms, more like looking more like traditional. And this has, if you have been following, you have different governments. Junin government is a city from Argentina. This is this. Mendoza, companies. And there's one of the latest developments we have is that we are starting working. There was a change in the regulation of the Consumer Protection Court in Argentina, and Kleros decisions can become binding under Argentinian law, assuming some conditions. One of those conditions is that jurors that will resolve disputes between companies and users will be need to be people with some legal degree and also with some previous experience in consumer law. So this is a very important milestone that was not possible before this. So Nathan was that important about for Kleros because he kind of was a big catalyst of these changes in the mechanism. And also, besides the really cool workshop we did at the university, I also had the opportunity of visiting some of the important members of Boulder. Is a very technological city, Boulder, but the state of Colorado is very innovative. It has this vibe of the American frontier. That it was a place founded by people who were moving west for the gold rush. So these people were like adventurers trying to strike it big with the gold. And lots of those vibes are still in the environment, and so this is why many companies, technology companies, Google, Amazon, and others have offices there. And it's also why it is an important hub for crypto innovation. There is in particular this place called Region Hub that we visited. I got to meet some of the local innovators, and one of I would say, the main figures of this community is Kevin Owoki, who was the founder of Gitcoin. So I got to speak to him. I will let you, so I don't do all the talking, to tell the community who Kevin is, because you remember that from Proof of Humanity.
Yeah. Maybe people from the Kleros community remember that there was, I think maybe one of the first cases of proof of humanity was a challenge that was appealed several times, and it was because the rule said that the person should be facing the camera, and Kevin Owoki was looking slightly to one side.
Not slightly.
Actually, not
a
slightly.
lot. A lot.
I would say maybe 55 degrees. I remember there were people calculating how far he was looking from the camera, and there were like the evidences were super complex, and there was one guy that made 1 hour a video of interviews of people in the streets. I think we still have the video up, and I think maybe it was not the best resolution for Kevin, but well, it was. Right now, we are even collaborating a little bit with Gitcoin with the this deep funding contest. I think there is part of it that is done through Gitcoin. So it's interesting that we keep crossing paths in different stuff.
I mean, it was really cool. We got to remember those times. I remember that. Right. Of course, Kevin is more than just a Kleros meme. He was telling me that was the first time he felt like a crypto digital celebrity. And it was cool. And we got to mingle a bit with the local builders. It's a really cool space. It's like the region hub is like the small version of Crecimiento, if you want to call it that way, of course, with less resources, and it's just for a few dozen people, not the huge thing we had in Buenos Aires. So it was cool, really happy. And also I got to spend some time with another professor called Kevin, Eric Alston, who is also like we had him in our podcast, and he's like a big expert in like constitutions for DAOs and how to build these incentive mechanisms for not being attacked. And so it was a really, lots of people are in that area, and the University of Colorado at Boulder is a kind of important place for this community. I wanted to mention a bit what happened there. Anything else about that, Gina, I should mention? I think that's it, right?
No, there is a very interesting panel from DevCon in Bangkok. I think it was a parallel. Actually,
Parallel Congress Society.
Yes, that talk. It was, I think, Eric. Don't remember the other.
Layer Zero. I cannot tell you his real name, but I mean he's a big guy in the Maker or Sky community. And the other one is Kelsey Naben. Kelsey is an Australian researcher at RMIT University, and I mean, I put together that panel, and I was happy to have them because they are really cool people and really smart and researching that.
That panel, I think, I definitely recommend watching it. It's very, very good, and he mentions a little bit his work on constitutions.
Yeah. Okay. So we have that. That's it about the Colorado thing. Well, one of the things of the week is the Vanity Fair article. No, did you see the Vanity Fair article, Jean? How did you think of that? Is it good or bad for crypto?
Yeah, I think the photos are the things that are the worst. The photos are really bad. The content is maybe, I don't know.
But that's the only thing that people see, right?
Yeah, nobody reads the article, so yeah, I don't know exactly what they wanted to do with it, but they're a good thing to have in mind when there are people proposing articles. What they are trying to do. But
I never know if they're going to take you for fun. It's better not to. Yeah, I don't know these days.
Yes. One thing that I find really interesting is that the title was something like "Crypto Believers Trying to Make Themselves to be taken seriously," like that, demanding to be taken seriously. And the photo, it's not the crypto true believer that I know. Like they don't look like that. But yeah, that was fun. One thing that I liked it is that they invited Danny Ryan. I think it's like the most people can identify with Danny Ryan. He was like dressed like a casual person, so that was good. Like it's a good representation for Ethereum. Maybe we can talk about the mandate.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the manifesto. The Ethereum Foundation, they just released this manifesto of the mandate. It's called, not a manifesto, where they double down on like the cypherpunk principle. What do you think, Gene, about the mandate?
Yeah, Yeah, I did not read it all yet, but I really like the idea of having like a document that talks a bit about the principles, the vision. I think the idea, like right now, there is like this discussion in crypto, like this tension in crypto, like it's starting to get to be useful, but there's also the risk that the principles are lost in the path to become useful and adopted. So it looks like they it feels like they want to have this was an internal document, so it looks like they want to set in stone what are the principles. So for this next phase of crypto, I really liked it. I like that they put like a lot of personality in it. I think maybe it's not for most people, but this is like internal, and I think it makes sense to do that. To do that. I don't know what people in Colorado talked about this.
Oh, I mean, I think that this was released a bit later, so I don't we didn't discuss this. But I mean, there's people who think that this is okay, and this is what the Ethereum Foundation should do. Like focus on the protocol and focus on making it like decentralized compared to other blockchains that are like more centralized but faster, or like with a cheaper whatever, or they're like. Situation, whatever. I mean, the famous trilemma of decentralization. You know, if you want to cheap or like decentralized or secure, and but there's other people who were like kind of frustrated because this looked like Ethereum Foundation like fostering or like the type of research that some will not see as very much practical for the real world, for the use for wider adoption of these tools. I think that to me the end goal of this is that there is adoption and that people can use it. Now, a different discussion is whether this is the function of the Ethereum Foundation or should be the function of other entities. Like for example, in the early days of Ethereum, what happened is that you had the Ethereum Foundation and the protocol, and then there were other like very visible actors who were doing the adoption part, and this was like, for example, Consensus. So Consensus was the very big company that was building on top of Ethereum, and they built like lots of different things. You know, from I mean MetaMask, Gnosis. They built, but even like a project called Boardroom. I remember about like governance, lots of different things. So it was separated. Then, like the distinction between the Ethereum Foundation and those companies. So I think maybe this happened because there was not like a very visible company working on the adoption, like Consensus, because Consensus went through like a personal cuts and crises, and then because of the ups and downs of the ether, right? So, and then what happened is that some people in the Ethereum Foundation tried to push for more enterprise adoption, enterprise focus, and others, I mean, didn't think that should be the function of the Ethereum Foundation. I don't know what is the right answer for Ethereum, but what I'm going to tell you a bit now is make a presentation of this. Is tell you how I see this in what applies to Kleros. Yeah, I can make the presentation now if you want, Jean, and then we can keep discussing. So this is basically a presentation I made for the EthCC 2020. And this is, you will see that the styles and the design is a bit different to what I show you usually, because I took the same slides for you to know that this is something that we have been thinking for a long time about how is the relation between the protocol of Kleros and other companies that could build on top of the protocol. I made some changes, and also in that in that presentation, I called this, which maybe was not a great idea, but I mean, this was, I call it like layer 2 for dApps, and you will see why I call it. Then layer 2 started having a completely different meaning to what I tried to give them here. But this will show you how we were thinking in 2020 about the implementation of Kleros in like real world use cases, and how we envision an ecosystem to be built on top of the protocol. So when we started Kleros in 2017, we had this idea of lots of the traditional Web2 projects, companies, app would be built like again into Web3, and so we expected to have like a decentralized version of Dropbox, like IPFS, and then decentralized version of operating systems, of social networks, and messaging apps, and currency, everything, which happened to a limited degree. Some of these things did happen. Other things did not. We, generally speaking, think that they will happen at some point. We don't know how much it will take, how long it will take. But what is for sure certain is that the Web3 ecosystem, the adoption of this, took longer than what we expected in 2017 when we were starting Kleros, right? And in that time, imagine or assuming that vision became a reality, we will have Kleros become like the decentralized court for all of those apps that will be created in the decentralized ecosystem. So we will have Kleros resolve disputes for social media, for like e-commerce. And there are projects that some of them still exist, others they don't. But back then when we started, there was a project called Open Bazaar that was like a decentralized version of like eBay. Then we had like the Lens protocol. And finance we have DeFi. So this was the original vision that we had in the very, very early days. And then we expected all of the enforcement of decisions made by Kleros to be done on chain through the smart contracts and automatically, right? And that is something that didn't happen as fast as we expected. And then we started asking ourselves, okay, how would the use of Kleros protocol be relevant for other more mainstream, more traditional companies, existing companies that have users? And what if we want this to be used by eBay, if we want this to be used by like insurance companies to resolve disputes about policies and about the policy between a policyholder and an insurance company, or between a consumer and like a utilities company like water, telecommunication, whatever. So how can we make this happen? And the challenge was how to connect a decentralized protocol like Kleros with the real world of business, of companies, of government. And for this, it's useful to think a bit on how the Web3 stack works. And there is a paper that was written by one of the guys from Bankless, where he calls the Web3 protocol stack is something like the protocol sync, and he uses something like this. This is a very old slide where you will see many projects that are probably not around anymore. But I took it directly from those slides which are very old. So, but how this will work is that you have at the bottom of the sync, you have the world computer like Ethereum. You have the operational system that will move everything. On top of that, you will have a few like very basic primitives for trading, for moving assets, like back then it was MakerDAO, or for like a lending protocol like Compound. And then on top of that, then you have like another layer where you will have dApps that are like protocols that connect users in different ways in order to produce some decision or some output about something. You might not always agree with if maybe some of them should be up or down, but this is more or less how it was seen by then. And then on top of that, you have what we call the user aggregation layer, and then that is like an interface or like a front ends where you have um, companies that use the services or they use the network that is managed by the dApps that exist at the application layer. Okay, so you have the companies on top use the service of the network of the application layer, which use the primitives of the like protocol layer below, which all of this runs on top of the Ethereum world computer, right? So this is more or less how we imagine the stack, and this is where Kleros is. It's in the application layer. It's a protocol that connects users in a number of ways in order to produce decisions which are fair, which are transparent, and which have a number of conditions that are relevant for people for companies that are in the user aggregation layer. Okay, and in order to have a protocol used, Kleros or others, so you have to ask basically similar questions to what you ask for building a company and getting customers, like this like lean canvas type thinking process. Or okay, you want your protocol to be used. Okay, who is the customer? Who's going to use your protocol, and what are the drivers of that decision? In this case, back then in that talk, I imagine this woman who was like the dispute resolution professional or dispute resolution boss or chief at some company, like could be eBay or could be like another digital company. And she had to resolve disputes between customers, and in a situation where she had to optimize the resources because she needs to cut costs because her boss asked her to cut the budget and solve dispute faster, cheaper, and also in a way that users would see as transparent and fair, because otherwise you could have like people becoming angry with the company and then go to social media to bash on the company and make drama, and this creates reputational damage. So this is the mindset in which some person who might decide to use Kleros or would like would make a decision. It needs to be like cheap to use, and it needs to be transparent. These are two important variables for them to decide. And then you need to develop a value proposition, and why would the customer use the product? And this is where, the protocols start to have problems when they try to sell their solution to like real world companies. Because what if we go to this woman and tell, yeah, you should use Kleros because it's decentralized and trustless? I mean, probably she doesn't even know what trustless is, and it doesn't sound very good for people who are not in the crypto world. Trustless seems like you cannot trust it, and then they don't really care many times or understand what is the value proposition of being decentralized, right? So there are other variables that we need to use in order to make this to make them want to use Kleros, and this one of them is like to explain that this is cheaper and faster than other methods. Why? Well, because it uses crowdsourcing. Well, it uses a different mechanism, and Kleros in this context is going to be evaluated not because it is more or less decentralized, but because it's more or less expensive than other competitive methods with it, like AI or the traditional arbitration. So, Kleros, one of important variables to decide is how Kleros compares to potential competitors in these variables, and also the transparency, because these companies need to show customers and also regulators that their methods for solving disputes are actually transparent, and that they are not being biased against the consumer and other conditions that are sometimes required by regulators. Okay, and we can show that Kleros is transparent because of all the mechanism which is built on top of blockchain. Everything is traceable, everything is verifiable. So the regulator, if they want to see why was some case decided in such a way, okay, they can just go and see the process and the smart contracts, and they can see that nobody could tamper with any part of the process. So this is the value that blockchain adds into the dispute resolution process as it was envisioned by Kleros. Yeah? So the value proposition for mainstream customers is not really that it's decentralized. It's more than it is very fast, it is very cheap because of the crowdsourced nature, and more recently because of the use of tools like AI, for example, as jewelers. And it has a transparency that comes from the fact that it's based on blockchain and it has all of this traceability and verifiability. And then you have to go through what are the obstacles for implementing this. And one important thing is that if you just want like a company like eBay or other like a digital company, Web 2 or 2.5, they don't really use crypto because of lots of reasons, operational risk, they can be hacked or whatever. But sometimes also because the regulator, they don't want them to touch crypto. So this is not a great thing. And also, all of the mechanism of Kleros can be very complicated to understand and to implement by these companies. And this is why it's useful to understand how Bitcoin, which is the first decentralized protocol ever to exist, the Bitcoin protocol, how did it start? How did it become massive, right? So, as you know, the network starts in October 2008. The network, no, the paper was published in October. The network starts in November. Then, back then, if you wanted to use Bitcoin, you just had like one wallet that was developed by the Ethereum, by the Bitcoin Foundation, and that it was like this Bitcoin Core, it was called, and this is what it looked like. I mean, you had to install it, and it was not very easy to use, and well, all of the problems that you think it could have like a very early day software. And what actually gave rise to the more massive use of Bitcoin was when Coinbase was created. I think I had my first account in Coinbase. This is how I got my first crypto, my first Bitcoin. And this is a part of the pitch deck that Brian Armstrong showed when they were starting with the company, and this is what they used for raising funds, I think. And one of the things that they promoted is that, okay, the current tools like the Bitcoin Core client and all that was super hard to use. So what we need for Bitcoin to become more widely used is to have an app that makes it easy to download in your phone, and then you can access, and then you can send money, receive money, and it's easy as any user, any consumer app. And this was the value proposition that Coinbase brought into the market. Okay, and of course, the purists, the people who were like coming from the very cypherpunkish, movement. Oh, they said, but this is not crypto, because if you don't control your keys, these are not really your coins. Which, of course, it's true to some extent, but I mean, it was not very easy to use, by person just want to buy some crypto, and I don't want to, have this problem. I can lose my seed phrase, and I can lose my private key and lose my money. People want to have like a more, traditional banking experience, even at the cost of having some, lower cypherpunkish or your keys, your coins situation. Okay, it's just because people have different preferences of how they want to interact with the network. And the truth is that this system worked. Coinbase, I think, was founded in 2013, and then you could see it growing very, very fast. And the thing is that Coinbase acted like as an intermediary actor between users. I mean, you see the guy on the left, and then the Bitcoin network that was intended to operate the sending and receiving the coins on the decentralized network. So you had this intermediary agent that played that role. And then after Coinbase, you started having like way more and more centralized companies that were building their business on top of the Bitcoin network. And this is how it scaled. And you had more users from different countries that they didn't interact directly through the command line with the Bitcoin network. They just had these apps, and then they kept their coins into these centralized apps. And then these apps were responsible of managing the relation with the Bitcoin network as the accounting framework on which they could know how many coins were in each account. Okay. Kleros Enterprise is a bit like this similar model. So you have this person who as we said before, she is the distributed solution specialist at like any traditional e-commerce, fintech, whatever company, and she wants to resolve her cases with Kleros, but she cannot use crypto directly because she's not allowed. She's not allowed to load a case into Kleros. But what she can do in the future is hire the service of a company. Let's call it like Fair Commerce. That is a distributed resolution company, which is built on top of the Kleros network. So maybe when our customer has like dispute with the company in this like a match trade company, the match trade is, let's say, the e-commerce company. They fill the form of what is the dispute they have against against the seller, and then this happens all in the interface of the e-commerce company, and then this is sent to Kleros through the Match Commerce, API and this intermediary company, and then arrives to Kleros. And Kleros jurors use the interface already for making the decision and voting and all that. And then Kleros makes a decision which is sent back to the match trade company, to the e-commerce company, which in a centralized way enforces the decision. Okay, so this is what is happening here. So you have users of match trade, e-commerce buyers and sellers. There is a dispute. This is sent to this company called Fair Commerce. It's an intermediary company, and then this company will take the work of making the quoting Kleros, creating the case, sending the payment for jurors. All of that crypto-facing thing is going to be taken care by the intermediary company, Fair Commerce, in the same way that Coinbase took care of managing the Bitcoin on behalf of their customers. And then Kleros will organize the jury network to make a decision based on the rules that we have developed at Kleros and the mechanism of the protocol. So Kleros makes a decision. This is informed to Fair Commerce, and then Fair Commerce, through like an API, sends this decision to Match Trade, and Match Trade enforces this. So, and how it works, the economics of this model is, okay, you have Match Trade paying Fair Commerce 100, and then Fair Commerce makes like a case on Kleros, and all things considered, let's say it costs them 50 to make the case on Kleros. So they make the decision, and then after they submit this to the customer, to Match Trade, they paid 50 to the jurors make 50, Fair Commerce made another 50, and Match Trade paid 100. So this is how this could work, this model would work in this idea of these centralized intermediary companies helping this e-commerce or this traditional companies interact with the protocol, okay? And this you could extrapolate to whatever use case you want. We were discussing e-commerce. You could use content moderation. Imagine Reddit. Reddit could just hire the work of a company called Safe Content that would manage all of the dispute resolution process on Kleros, and then pay to the jurors, and then tell the company of the social network, a Web2 social network, what was the decision, and the revenue model is, as I explained before, there is like a part that goes to the intermediary company, part that goes to the Kleros jurors, in the same way that part of the money that of the fees that are collected by Coinbase end up at some point in the hands of the miners of the Bitcoin network, because they are the ones who are maintaining the process, okay? So this is the general framework on top of which these enterprise use cases tend to work. So this role of the layer 2 company, as I called them in that talk of 2020, this is currently like being done by the Kleros cooperative because it's still a bit experimental. And then in the future, this will be done by other companies. And this is how we imagine Kleros network to grow, to become very big. And the customer, as you see, never touches crypto. They just send the dispute through like some API, whatever, and then receive decisions. And they are totally, abstracted away from all of the network of Kleros jurors, and they don't have to deal with any inconvenience, regulatory, operative of having to do crypto. And this is how you can bring the services of the Kleros jury network into like real world use cases. And so this is how it will grow. At some point, we will have a network of Kleros jurors that's going to be surrounded by a lot of different companies that give services to end customers. That this could be like in the airline industry, this could be in the gaming industry. We have, as you know, done in the past like esports event, because we think esports can be an important use case. You can think of insurance, lots of insurance cases could be resolved with the Kleros jury network. You could have like content moderation, health, finance, you name it. There's probably some application of Kleros that can be implemented and in this type of way. And this opens for the Kleros network the possibility of resolving disputes from lots of millions and millions of users that would not use it otherwise if they were just to have to interact directly with the protocol. And the goal of Kleros, as you know, with the launch of Kleros V2, is to produce a network organization, a network decision-making process that can accommodate as many use cases as possible. As we said at the beginning, the hyper-financialized aspect is okay for some use cases, not for all of them. So that's why we started to implement the like showdown tokens, identity protocols, one person, one vote, and scalability issues so to make it cheaper. So our goal has always been to try to make this cheaper to use, faster to use, more flexible in order to accommodate more use cases. And in this way, you will have more and more companies being interested in using the protocol and bringing it to more and more use cases. So this is a bit like we think about the protocol relationship to the companies and the centralized users. So this is valid for all of the cases where we need to interact with enterprise traditional companies. In the Web3 ecosystem, it works like usually. I mean, there is on-chain enforcement, no problem with that. But when we want to have access to this way larger market of traditional companies and centralized companies, you need this intermediary element. All of this explanation to tell you, okay, what should be the role of the Kleros cooperative in this development? So the Kleros cooperative has always tried to make the protocol as flexible, cheap to use as possible. This is why all of the research was done, the development of our protocol. And then at some point, what it's going to do is try to foster the creation of more and more companies on top of the protocol, more and more like Coinbases, if you want to call it in the analogy of the Bitcoin network, in order for have wider adoption. So you will have like the main goal of the cooperative will be to assist entrepreneurs and people to try to build companies to solve different types of disputes, and companies that are using the Kleros jury network that with humans or not humans that we'll see for resolving those cases. And so this is how I imagine the future. This kind of puts a bit of like a distinction between the core protocol development and the work that is done in order to foster more and more companies around the protocol. Okay, so thank you very much. Hopefully that was clear enough for people to understand how we think about these issues. I don't know, Jean, do you have any question about? Are you there? I mean, I was speaking for so long and it was without any feedback.
I'm here. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the presentation. I think it's pretty interesting. It's basically this started to happen. Like we started to have like more layer two DApp companies.
Yeah.
This is like a business that started to a business model that started to happen, and we saw a little bit around Kleros already, right? Because there is, for example, a guy that was charging people to register items on Kleros Curate. So it was kind of reselling services and reselling Kleros, let's say. And there are some people that were offering like lawyer services for Kleros cases. So that's also, but maybe not with the real world, but still, satellite companies, let's say.
That is, I mean, that guy who is like something as small as try to help other people to submit to curate is already like a guy who is helping people access the services of the Kleros network. So this could look like a toy now, but when everything looks like a toy when they start, so and then it's going to be larger. But this is the model on which this is going to grow, and this is the model on which like Bitcoin grew at the beginning. It's people are not going to have to create their own core. They have to no. People need to have these things done easy for them, and the protocol needs to give the service of like a traceability, fair decision, compliance. Because people, if you want this to be used by a big company with millions of cases, you want this. They will want the decision to be done in a compliant way. We have seen this in many cases working with governments, the Consumer Protection Agency. They don't like the idea of anyone who has the token just make the decision. No, they want this to be from a predefined pool of jurors. So, well, all of our work of developing. So, just as Ethereum spends time and developing the protocol to make it cheaper and to make it more secure, we also do the same for this process of decision making. That we want this to be more flexible for having more use cases. So this is a bit of an explanation, a very long explanation of how we imagine this connection between the protocol, the core protocol, and the ecosystem of companies that will bring this into like a massive use. I see that this is a very long already talk. Yeah, Jim, what do we have now for continue now?
We have Renato to give some updates about Curate.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hello, Fernando.
Hey, how are you? Great talk, Federico.
Thank you.
Yeah, for the updates for Curate, we are working on Curate V2 smart contracts. As you know, soon we will finish the external audit for Core V2, so we are aligning the roadmap to have the products all ready. Last week, we announced another partnership with OpenScan, which is a fully open source and privacy compliant block explorer. They do not collect cookies, they do not collect your data, and they are using data coming from Scout. So also the data they display on their platform is openly is crowdsourced. On the AI development side, we are working on Kleros interactions, on Kleros tools interactions with AI, mainly on documentation side, in order to let any user create their own flows, their own instances, and not putting too much guardrails. So if you're building some agents, some automation tool related to Kleros, and you need some information, feel free to reach us out and we can help you. And the last point is about we are moving forward with the research related to reputation for AI agents. Last week, we showed you a POC where you could verify and collateralize your agent. And working on this is extremely exciting because we are building this reputation for agents from scratch. So we are trying to do it right, and even better, we are not doing this alone. We have other partners who are researching with us in order to create a sort of general framework that can be used not just by a single entity, but anyone who wants to plug into reputation for agents, they can plug into this general framework, which of course will be part of the ERC 8004.
Fortunato, how can I explain this to like my grandmother?
Okay, the ERC 8004.
This idea of reputation for agents. I mean,
okay.
How do you explain it for my grandmother?
Okay, transaction, whatever kind of transaction now with agents are really fast, right? So imagine a basic transaction that you go in a store and you have to pay for an apple. The thing is, right now you see the store, you can talk with the owner, and you start building the reputation from that for that. With agents, this kind of transaction happen in an instant. It's something that it's designed to happen fast because we want to get our data, our tools, everything really fast. So how can we, in 1 second, in a fraction of a second, get that reputation? Let's say we want to buy some piece of information from an agent, we want to pay an API. How an agent or a human knows that API delivers? We need a reputation layer. And what we are building, this reputation layer, will provide a on-chain proof that the specific agent has that specific reputation and that reputation is verified. So instead of going to the store, talking with the owner, looking at the store and creating your own reputation, you can make this transaction and have a reputation in a blink of an eye. So of course, this requires trusting a mechanism that provides the reputation, but in very simple terms, that's how I would put it.
My grandmother would ask, what type of things are going to be transacted by these agents, or maybe she would call them bots more than agents. An agent is like a police agent for her, I think.
Yeah,
but like a bot. What type of transaction? What do they buy and sell? The bots.
Everything in the long run, but today I would say more access to some sort of service. Like you want an instant access. For example, this is still for our world, but let's say I want to access to an AI model, right? How would you do right now with, like, if you are a human? You have to register to ChatGPT or to Claude. You go to the website, you put your username, you put your password, and there is this flow. With agents, let's say that I need the computing power from Claude. Instead of doing this, of creating my profile, putting the email, verifying the email, I just need Claude power to do one task. I need Claude power to, I don't know, solve my homeworks. I don't need a Claude subscription. I need to solve my homework once. So my agent has this single transaction, and I know that Claude is trusted, and this happens in an instant. I ask my agent, who is a free tier and needs the Claude power, I need to solve this equation. My agents answer, okay, we need Claude. And in an instant, it pings Claude. Claude solved the equation or the homework, and it comes back. All this happens in an instant. And my view is that the type of transaction will be more and more in this way. So I mentioned Claude from Anthropic, that we all know that it's trusted, but maybe there will be, in this case, there is a specific model for math, and this model has been proved to solve math homeworks really well, and it has this reputation. And this, what we are discussing now, would happen just in an instant. We would know that the math agent solve problems really quick, and I would get my equation in a blink of an eye. And so TLDR, I would say today is mostly information that it's working on with AI agents. I need some piece of information, or I need to consume some data, or plug into an API. So for today, I would say it's mostly information. Yeah.
I have one example that maybe a grandmother would understand. Is that I have an agent, and I asked it to generate a video, and it used a service to generate a video and paid $3, and there was an error in the middle. So let's say a grandmother wants to generate a cute video of her grandson, and use these AI tools to make it fun, make it interesting. And then this robot tried to get another robot to work and make the video, and then it fails. And then there are many robots that are willing to work, and they differentiate themselves. They want to prove that they are good, that they will generate the best videos, that they don't fail, like it happened in my case. So they need to have a way to have kind of the ratings that you have on Uber or on when you maybe use other gig economy apps. So basically, there's a gig economy for agents, and they need to have this type of registry of how well they work. So the grandmother wants to generate a video and make sure that the video is generated properly, or wherever it can research trips, let's say, get the best discounts or things like that. This is also happening. So.
I don't know if I mentioned that my grandmother has a computer science degree from Stanford. I mean, did I? No.
I think we assumed she had.
That was that. Basically, and 10 years of experience at Google, after Stanford, that is the background. Okay, just one thing that and that happened to me today. Today was the first time that I went into a call, and most of the participants, they didn't go. There were like 7 people invited. 4 of them didn't go. They sent their agent. These bots, that says Otter bot, whatever. It's like you send your assistant, right? It's at least the nature, and then they will give you like a summary of the talk, and then I want to think they will read the summary at least. Otherwise, the agent is going to do the work for them, and then continue doing everything. And I will put my agent to review that work later, because why should I take my time to that if my agent can do it? So, it's just for grandma to know that this is not so much of a science fiction thing. It's something that is already starting to happen more and more. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That is like a fireside talk, with a whiskey maybe. I don't know. It certainly seems to be making us dumber, because we don't even work anymore, because we just have the assistant working for us. And this is maybe this was the vector of attack that the AI would use to take over the world. They don't need to a Terminator type of bots. They just convert into idiocracy type of thing, or lazy-ocracy. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, the idiocracy path is something that I think we are seeing that we may lean to that. There is some sort of fear, and at this point, if the options are Skynet and idiocracy, maybe both. I have no idea, but yeah, it's one thing that I would like to add is that. As I mentioned, we are researching with other partners outside of Kleros, and there are big companies that are already interested in this, but of course they are slower in moving. This is the very beginning. As in the past days, we were discussing also with Federico, and Federico mentioned that we are doing something that has never been done before. So usually big companies move when things are already settled and they are safe to interact with, but they are definitely looking at that. And yeah, to complete what Federico said, this may be way closer than we imagine. For us in this field, it's reality, but for the whole world, we are way closer than we can imagine.
That's great. And just to share a little bit of what I heard on this one call from the ERC 804. It's crazy that everyone that is building things for this agentic economy, the main block that I see that they have are things that are solved by Kleros. So, for example, the escrow, the let's say subjective dispute resolution, the reputation, it's crazy. You read the conversations, and then they find a problem that Kleros can solve. So
humanity.
Yes, also.
Yeah, and even with tests,
we're just lucky, I guess.
No, visionary. We have the talks from Federico from 10 years ago talking about agents suing other agents. So, and yeah, as Jean said perfectly, it's even for other users or partner interacting with us, that when they ask us, but what your position as Kleros as court of interactions with agents, and the answer is, yeah, we tested more than 1 year ago. We tested agents interacting on court, and yeah, so it really solves a lot of problems that are arising with agents.
We were just early, guys. That is the thing. I mean, not wrong, just early. Okay, let's move on because it's already lots of time. Okay, Jim, what do we have now?
We have, I think, William. Let me add William real quick.
Bye-bye, guys.
Fortunato, thanks.
Hello, William. Is it you or is it your agent?
For the moment, it's me. I mean, not making promises for future calls.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so continuing to think a lot about like different kinds of mechanisms one can apply, like as we've sort of had a theme throughout all we've said so far, like different layer 2 companies may have different requirements, maybe agents have like, different incentive or voting systems more natural for them versus humans. And how do we like take advantage of the modular nature of V2 to have the right voting system for the right sort of use case and the right set of jurors. So I've been thinking about some problems in that space recently. I'm going to give a talk in a couple of weeks at ECC on vote splitting and how kind of like the incentive aspect of Kleros like enriches and complicates the classical social choice theory research on vote splitting and clone choices. So you should all check that out.
William, I have a question. So how does it changes the nature? I mean, like sometimes we have discussed in the past, like different voting systems, and some of them are like hard to implement because, I mean, maybe they are more efficient in theory, but it's hard to understand for people, and maybe it's like, yeah. But in a world where agents are the voters, that they understand, for them it's the same to understand XYZ voting system. How does it affect, your research?
That's an excellent question. We need some more behavioral research on agents, where we test this. Like our previous PhD student Jan did some like laboratory experience where he gave different people like different voting systems in like sort of a Kleros sort of situation, and saw how they responded. Indeed, I mean, more experiments necessary, and we tweak a few more things. But the complexity of the voting system does seem to have a role, because ultimately we're talking about a Schelling point system where people are trying to like think about what the outcome will be by modeling how other people will like sort of parse the voting system and how they'll vote as like in fitting in that voting model. So already the idea that you're modeling somebody else's thought process adds a layer of complexity. And if that you're imagining them modeling something that is complex that you barely understand yourself, like that adds that much more complexity. But if the agents are doing this, like maybe they interact with complex models in different ways. That's totally a possibility that deserves to be explored.
And at some point, when all of this kind of becomes like an agentic economy, we might start seeing like unexpected behaviors. I mean, we did never imagine this was going to happen. We were assuming that this would behave in a rational way, like, and maybe it does, but in a different, a different rationality. So who knows, right? It's interesting.
Yeah, there's an interesting anecdote about that. I don't remember which model, but it was the researchers found out that it was basically before executing a task, it was opening the calculator and making 1 + 1 in the calculator, and this somehow in the training data was like a behavior that optimized the goal. And maybe imagine if there are like these unexpected things, even simple questions, maybe when they are interacting with each other, it will be a lot more complex.
Let me add, we're going to be with William next week on Tuesday. We are going to be hosting a hackathon in Paris, in Institut Catholique de Paris. This is like a very important university, a humanistic university, and they invited us to give a workshop to their students and to so many of them like AI and law students, and combined with also some people who come from the it's called École 42, School 42. It's like an important engineering school from Paris, and to actually try to think together. We wanted to explain to them how we envision Kleros used by agents, because we are going to build together use cases where Kleros is combined with agents, where jurors are agents, and they will have to make an analysis. We have to build a product where the customer is going to be like an e-commerce company. One of these type of things I mentioned before in my talk. It could be like a social media company. It could be like an esports company, whatever they want, and they will have to build a process. They will have to decide what they are going to use as jurors. I mean, what do they want to use AIs because this is faster, this is cheaper? But what about the regulation? Does the regulation accept the use of AIs? And if they want to use AIs, what combination of AI? One AI, three AIs, five AIs? How they should be combined? What skills should they have? So, in order for the process to be fair and to be perceived as fair, and also to be acceptable by the regulator. So there's lots of different things, they need to align for this to work. I'm excited because this is going to put these ideas in the hands of people, of lawyers, and entrepreneurs, and see how they use these tools to build a solution that is both technically feasible, that has a market, that is compliant with regulation and ethical, for the community. We'll see, William, how it goes, right?
Yep, I look forward to that. Yeah, see what the students produce. Maybe we'll eventually have something to share.
And that week we will also be attending a few events in the Paris Arbitration Week. This is a very important event that gathers all of the arbitration industry in Paris and from big firms. And on that, in that context, I have on Friday we at Kleros are like advising the International Chamber of Commerce. It is a very important arbitration center from France, one of the most important in the world. And we have been doing some research of how the law of arbitration, the rules, can be applied to disputes about crypto assets, with all of the complexities that it has because of the transnational nature of the disputes, the fact that some of them are like between anonymous parties, all of the different complexities that we have in our ecosystem. I mean, I have collaborated with a number of important law firms, important arbitrators, to try to make some a framework to try to address this type of thing. So cool that Kleros was invited, to participate in this. I mean, this is a really important organization. We're going to have the launch event of this research at a very important law firm there. So it's a really cool thing, and it's also like a recognition that for our work, for which I'm very happy. That's it, William. Anything else?
No, that's all from me.
Looking forward to seeing you next week. Yeah. Okay. Lucia, last but not least. Yes, please.
Thank you. I was so excited hearing about this AI agent thing and thinking about my grandma. But okay, moving forward.
Yeah, my grandma is trying to understand it, still. It's not easy, but I guess if we explain many times, please.
At some point. But about Kleros Enterprise, the main update is that, as you may have seen, there were 3 cases created to the new court of the ombudsman figure. And the new thing that this court has is that, as a requirement, the jurors that are part of this court need to be lawyers with experience in consumer protection. So, of course, the cases that we are receiving are maybe more complex, and you can even see by the way that they justify their votes how, it does change. So we are expecting that this will attract a lot of companies that want to use the ombudsman figure with Kleros, right? And about these 3 specific cases, we received them because of a public integration we have with a municipality in Argentina. And the three of them are from different industries. One of them is an airline. Another one is with a e-commerce platform, like the client is arguing against the person that sold him something. And then the other one is with a bank. So interesting industries. And all of them, like if you want to see how they are in Spanish, but if you want to see the results, all of them are resolved now. And the three of them were voted like in favor of the user. But one of them had something that it's interesting. I think it was the one with the airline. Like they were in favor of the user, but the jurors in the justification, they were saying that the amount that the person was requesting was like a lot. So it's interesting to see, like when you were talking about AI, I was thinking if AI would answer the same way as the lawyer, like saying, this type of the context about, okay, like you have a valid point, but the amount that you are requesting is very high. Like, I don't know, that I was thinking that when you were speaking.
Yeah, we developed with Rob Dean a method which is called the Kleros mediation bridge, and then Rob developed a bot called Harmony based on that methodology. And one of the things that this makes is like you have like a dispute like that is like complex, and you can break it down in different sub disputes that are like easier to resolve. And what you can do is like have like one dispute deciding if the company needs to pay or not for the damages, and then a different dispute with maybe even a different jury, a different AI panel deciding what is the right amount of compensation. So this could be done in different ways. And AI for sure is going to help with that. There's a lot of research. This is not exactly the same, but there's a lot of like research. We have put a lot of research, and William has put a lot of research about numerical value. I don't know, William, if you are still around, you can maybe explain a bit about the numerical value oracle and the dispute kits that are like the goal is to try to define what is the right damage amount to pay, and how this works with AI is making that decision.
Yeah, so that's one of the non-binary kinds of use cases. It's the most important. We spent a lot of time thinking about this. For a good overview on this, I gave a talk at, I guess, DevCon Bogota. Anyway, so the main idea is like, in a Schelling point system, how do I, I'm generally rewarded if I agree, and I'm penalized if I disagree. But if I have like a number value, like how close do I need to be to have agreed? Like what is the like right level of precision? Is it something that should be hard coded? Should it like the system figure out precision for itself? And there are different approaches you can take that like depending sort of a bit on your goals. But we've come up with a fairly flexible thing where the jurors, instead of providing a single value that like this is the right settlement value, they provide like a range where they say like this is like the lowest reasonable settlement and this is the highest reasonable settlement, and then using that uncertainty that like each juror observes that they report to you, you can come up with like kind of the right amount of. You can figure out like how much noise is in the system, and you can take that into account when you're figuring out how far off from the right answer people need to be rewarded. So in brief, we've thought about this a lot, and this is a dispute kit that we can is compatible with building open soon.
Yeah, we have put a lot of thought into all this. We're not improvised. Like we have really put a lot of research on this of very smart people, because we have a lot of collaboration with universities, and we even finance PhD students doing this. So Lucia, please continue.
Yes, no. So basically, as I was saying, these three new cases and this new court will, I think, will open the doors for us to start integrating with even more companies, because of course it's also an advantage for them. So those are the main updates on the enterprise side. So thank you. I think on my side we are okay.
Thank you, Lucia. Well, anything else, Jean, we want to mention today? It's already quite long.
Yeah, it's quite long call, but I'll be posting like a recap of the latest case that was on this consumer court very soon. And we have one piece of news to share about the Kleros DAO and one proposal that was approved. I think it was last week or a couple of days ago. Basically, as you know, we have one second. We have the let me see if I can share the screen here. Yeah, a couple of, I think 1 year ago or more, we passed a proposal on the juror incentive program and how the DAO mints tokens to pay for these rewards. And there was an adjustment, I think maybe a couple of months ago, 3 months or so. And now we propose another adjustment, and it's kind of simple. Basically, the amount that is minted to the cooperative that cooperative holds while it is distributing, it is not counted on the, well, basically on this calculation for the percentage, the percentage rate that is the objective to have. Actually, the staking rate that we are aiming for. So in the end, the result is that the rewards will be, I think, in the next month or so, it will be reduced for the jurors. I mean, the juror staking rewards, not the payment for cases. And that also implies that the amount of tokens that need to be minted will be reduced a little bit too. So maybe that was not the best way to explain it, but the proposal is pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, like because the cooperative holds lots of PNK that uses for like paying incentives to team members and other type of rewards. The cooperative has pledged that it's not going to it's not going to vote in cases. I mean, we don't want the cooperative to vote in cases, so maybe it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to have those tokens held by the cooperative. Counted for the rewards, since this is not going to be used for voting, and it's not going to make any difference for the security of the system. So this was approved, it was proposed and approved by the DAO. This is not a cooperative thing. Well, it will affect the amount of tokens that need to be minted in order to pay those rewards. That is the only thing. And I guess that's it, Jean, for today. It's already very long. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people will put their agent, go through the call and just, okay, give me the 3 bullet points, like this. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to try to prompt inject people doing that, but just to see if we can manage. Yeah. We also posted the development updates of February. Please check that, because there is lots of projects listed and lots of things going on at the same time. I think it's the best document to check what's going on.
To me, the most exciting thing is that, you can see like how lots of different things we have been doing over the years, the escrow, well, of course, the court, the V2, and then the curate, and then, like the few of you, they kind of all converges into this like big reputation system for agents. That maybe was not clear for everyone when we were building it. It was totally clear for us when we were building it. I would say the tools, the protocol, the core ideas of what is going to become the governance, of a network state, if you want to put it that way, a network state of agents. And yeah, but we will leave that for a discussion in another call. So for now, guys, thank you very much for coming. Next week, I'm probably not going to make it because I'm going to be in these conferences in Paris, but we will see. But you will have anyway, there's going to be a community call. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Me or not, but that's all to it. Bye.
Bye, everyone.